What's up, YouTube? Look who's back. Back again. Coach Carr's back. Tell a friend. Now, for this one, we're going to be going over page 2 and 3 in that review packet. All right, guys, we've made it all the way to page 2. This one's saying if an obtuse angle is angle 1 and it's 4 times more than the acute angle, angle 3, what is the measure of the acute angle? Well, first of all, you got to make sure you know what an obtuse angle is. So an obtuse angle is an angle that is going to be greater than 90, but less than 180 degrees. So it has to be a number in between 90 and 180. So with angle 1, which is right here, they say it's 4 times more than the acute angle. Well, whenever you see 4 times, that's talking about multiplication. And since we don't know what the number it is, it's bigger than, we're going to give it a variable. So I'm going to say 4x. Now, it's supposed to be 4 times bigger than angle 3. Now, this one is supposed to be an acute angle. So acute angles are going to be greater than 0, but they are going to be less than 90. So I know that angle 3 has to be less than 90 degrees, but greater than 0. So angle 3, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to give it a variable. I'm going to keep it the same variable, x. So these two right here, angle 1 and 3, form a linear pair. So a linear pair is supplementary, so that means that they have to add up to 180. So the equation I'm going to use to solve this is going to be 4x plus x equals 180 degrees. So that's the equation I am going to use. So I'm going to do that in order to find my acute angle. So again, 4x plus x equals 180. So combine my like terms. So 4x plus x is 5x. So 5x equals 180. Next step is to divide each side by 5 because I'm trying to get x by itself, and that cancels it out. So now you have x equals 36. Now it told us that we want to find the acute angle. The acute angle was angle 3, which was represented by x. So since we found x, we actually just found our acute angle. All right, so the next problem that we have is number 6, and it says if angle BOE is a straight angle made of 3 angles, and angle BOA is bisected by ray OP, find the measure of all 3 angles if POA is 42 degrees. Draw a diagram to help. So first thing that's here is it says angle BOE is a straight angle. So a straight angle, if you don't remember, is just a straight line, and it has these 3 points of BOE. So B, O, and E. The next thing they tell us is that you have angle BOA. BO, so I'm going to create a ray, and on this ray I'm going to have a point and label it as A. So they told me that angle BOA, what I just created, gets bisected. So bisect means it gets cut in half. So this angle BOA got cut in half by ray. So this symbol means a ray if you do not remember that. So it got bisected by the ray OP. So it got cut in half. So this angle, I'm going to have to make a ray roughly in the middle of it and label a point on there P, because I have the O, I didn't have the P. Saying it wants us to find the measure of all three angles if angle POA is equal to 42. Well, the most important letter there is the O. The middle letter in the angles is the most important. So we have angle POA. That angle right there is supposed to be 42 degrees. If that angle is 42 and the angle BOA got bisected, that means that this side is also 42 degrees because the full angle got cut in half. So if this portion is 42, this one's also 42. So the only one I have to find now is angle AOE because there's supposed to be three angles. So the way I'm going to do this, the full thing has to equal 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus these two right here. So 42 plus 42 is 84. And 180 minus 84 is 96 degrees. So one angle is 42, the other one's 42, and the last one would be 96. All right, so the next problem in our quest for knowledge is number 7. It says, if AB is parallel to line CD and they are cut by a transversal, then the measure of angle AGH is equal to x plus 15, and the measure of angle GHD is equal to 2x. What is the measure of the angle AGF? So first things first, if you don't remember what a transversal is a line that cuts through parallel lines. So this line here, FE, would be considered the transversal. So if you did not know that, I would put a little note for yourself. Now, what I'm noticing with where these angles are, they're inside of the parallel lines and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So if they're on alternate sides and they're inside of the parallel lines, they are alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So if that is the case, that means that they're equal to each other. So what I want to do is take these two equations, x plus 15 and the 2x, and set them equal to each other. So my next step here would be to subtract x from both sides. And now you are going to have 15 equals x. So for my x value, I have 15. Now, the angle that they want us to find is angle AGF. The most important letter in that is the G. So if I'm looking at AGF, so that means I'm looking at this angle right here, which is x plus 15. But instead of x, we now know that we can substitute 15 in there. So I have 15 plus 15, which equals 30. So that means AGF is 30 degrees. Okay, so this problem says that UW is the blank of TV, and they want us to look at the markings. So if I'm looking here at TV, I notice that these little slashes through. These slashes mean that these portions are equal to each other because they both have just one slash through them. So from T to W is the same distance as W to V. So if this line cut it in half, that would make this one actually a segment bisector. So for the next part, knowing that now, I can look at this and it says, which means that U, so point U, is blank from T and V. Well, if I know that this line is a segment bisector, that would mean that it would be equidistant to each of these points, T and V. So equidistant. And now they also said find the measure of TU. So in order to do that, if I know both sides are equidistant, or that means equal, that means what I can do is just go ahead and set these equations equal to each other. So I'm going to do 3x plus 9 equals 7x minus 17. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and move the 3x over. That'll cancel it out over here. And now I have 9 equals 4x minus 17. Next, I want to add 17 to both sides so that it cancels out over here. And I am going to get 26 equals 4x. Well, x is still not by itself, so what I'm going to do is divide by 4. And 4 cannot go perfectly into 26, but I could do a greatest common factor, which of 2. Which would make it so this becomes 13. So x equals 13 over 2. So now that I know that, I'm going to go ahead and plug that in to this equation. So TU was 3x plus 9. Well, instead of x, I have 13 over 2. So that plus 9. When you multiply fractions, it does not matter if the decimal, or sorry, not the decimal, but it doesn't matter if the denominators are different. So I'm going to do 3 times 13, so numerators multiplied together. That's going to get me 39. And then 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 39 over 2 plus 9. Now, I want to combine these. So what I'm going to do is put 9 over 1. Now, I can't combine these right now because when you're adding fractions, they have to have the same denominator. So this one is going to turn into 2 in the denominator. So since I multiply the denominator by 2, I multiply the numerator by 2. So you have 39 over 2 plus 18 over 2. So now I can combine them. So 39 plus 18 is 57. And you have 57 over 2, which can't be simplified down anymore. So that would be your answer. We are all the way to page 9. For number 9, it says fill in the blanks according to the slope properties. So two coplanar lines are parallel if and only if they have the same slope. So if they have the same slope, they're going to be parallel. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw the symbol for parallel as well, just so you see that with it. The next one says two coplanar lines are blank if and only if the slopes are blank and blank of each other. So what we are looking for is perpendicular. So the symbol for perpendicular, it kind of looks like an upside down T. That is the symbol for perpendicular. And something that hopefully you know with perpendicular is that they do the opposite and reciprocal to the slopes. So opposite, what that is telling us is that they change sign. So an opposite sign. While reciprocal is telling us that the fraction is going to flip. So whatever used to be in the numerator now is in the denominator. And whatever's in the denominator goes in the numerator. And the product of their slope when they do this is -1. Okay, so we are looking at number 10. This one says indicate whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Justify your answer. So what you want to do with all these is find the slopes, because we have to compare slopes to know if they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So for this first one, it's actually technically in slope-intercept form, which is the y equals mx plus b. And m stands for slope, so 2 in this case would be the slope. So for this first equation, our slope is 2. Now this equation, let's go ahead and put it into slope-intercept form. So it's originally written as 6x equals 3y plus 5. Well, I want to get y to one side, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is subtract 5 from each side. Now 5 does not have a variable with it, so I can't do anything with the 6x and the 5. So what I have on the left side now is 6x minus 5 equals 3y. Now for slope-intercept form, I need to get y by itself. So I am going to now divide 3 to everything so that it cancels out right here. So 6x divided by 3 is 2x minus 5 over 3, because that doesn't go in perfectly, equals y. So now it's in that slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and the m, which is 2, is our slope. So the slope in this one is 2. Since they are the same, they are parallel. Now, for part B, the one right next to it, this one is actually in standard form already. And standard form is ax plus by equals c. Now, to find slope in standard form, you could put it into y equals mx plus b form, but me personally, I like to just use the formula of the opposite of a over b. And that will give you your slope. So if I looked at the first one, a is 2. So I need to do the opposite though. So that means now it has to be -2. So -2 over b, which is -5. So negative divided by a negative makes it positive. So what you really have is 2 over 5. Now the other slope, I would have the opposite of 10, which just means it needs to be negative instead, over b, which is 4. Now that can be simplified down by dividing each one by 2 from our greatest common factor. And I would get negative 5 over 2. So these two slopes, they have opposite signs and they're the reciprocals of each other. So if you have the opposite and reciprocal, that is perpendicular. So this part is actually perpendicular. And remember, the symbol looks like an upside down T. So we are on the last problem on this page. And what it says is write the equation of the line that goes through the point 2, -4 that is perpendicular to 2x plus 6y equals 9. Well, if it's going to be perpendicular, I know I'm going to end up having the opposite and reciprocal slope. So I'm going to have to find the slope here and then do the opposite reciprocal. So this is already in standard form. So in standard form, I showed you on the problem before, the way we can actually find it is by doing the opposite of A over B. So I could find the slope of this equation using this. So the opposite of A over B would give me -2, because it used to be positive, now over 6, which is our B. So -2 over 6. This can simplify down by doing a greatest common factor of 2. And this would give me -1 over 3. So now, if I'm trying to do the opposite reciprocal, because I'm trying to make a new equation that is perpendicular, opposite tells us that I have to change the sign. So it was negative, so I'm going to want a new slope that's positive. Reciprocal tells me I need to flip this fraction. So that means my new slope is going to be 3 over 1, which is the same thing as just 3. So I'm going to be using this slope when I figure out the new equation. So they gave me a point it has to go through. The way that we are going to figure this out and where the new point is going to be is through point slope formula. This formula is actually given to you when you do your EOC. So this one is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and then you close your parentheses. So the x1 and the y1 is the point that they gave you. So x1, y1. So now when I go to do this, I'm going to have y minus -4 equals 3, which is because I want the new slope, and parentheses x minus 2. Close the parentheses. So now, when you have minus a negative, you would get y plus 4 equals, and then now I want to distribute. So 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times -2 is -6. Now, I want to get y by itself, so I am now going to subtract 4 from both sides, and then I get y equals 3x minus 10. So we have now put it into y equals mx plus b form. So slope-intercept form. And thank you again for watching. More videos to come. That's the end of this one. So smash that like button, hit that bell, get the notifications, and make sure to buy the non-existent merch.